Hey guys, I'm back with another video for you today, and I've got a bit of a spicy deck this time. This is another deck that I was working on for a while, and have had in the back of my mind for a long time, but I've made some changes to it and come to a version which I really enjoy and I think is quite powerful, and I wanted to share with you. And it's using a lot of cards that are just very underused, I think, and they're very cool, so I think it's a shame that they're not played so much. So I'm here to tell you why they're good and why you should be playing them. And yeah, let's just get into it. So it's a Death Shadow deck, and normally with Death Shadow you're thinking, okay, this is probably a Kiki More Queen deck, right? You're getting loads of insects out and you're just swarming the board and getting this Thrive massive engine going and winning long rounds very easily. But with this deck, not the case. It's actually based around Haunt, Caranthir and Detlaf, with the leader being used on the Detlaf that's been Caranthired. So it's kind of a counterintuitive way to play. Normally you'd think about, using your leader on Caranthir rather than the unit that he spawns, but it actually works out being more points if you do it on the 1-point Detlaf. So you basically play Haunt, you play Caranthir, and you're able to instantly proc your Haunt with that, the unit that respawns basically that Detlaf. So you're able to kind of instantly activate the scenario, making you less vulnerable to Bomb Heaver, and allows you to just go really crazy, burst out a huge number of points. You can then eat the Detlaf with the consume things that are spawned from the Haunt. You'll see in the games we're going to get so many points with this kind of combination of cards, and then when you throw in the classic monster core, which is very, very strong, Egon, Goliath, Osrail, etc., along with Lava, which is just a really, really powerful card. Probably, I think, the best card in the game, just in terms of the pure points that it gets. Then we've got a real, we've also got Beast and Adder, which are also very good 7p cards. Overall, just a really powerful core package, a lot of points and a lot of ways to bleed, a lot of ways to push, win rounds, whether they're long, short, etc. Now, not necessarily better than the other ways to play Monster. This deck definitely lacks a bit of removal, which is something that some other Monster decks do have. It's more focused on its own board, thriving up with Larvae and other Thrive units like Bruxa, Drowner, etc., and just really going crazy with the Haunt scenario craziness. We also have some interesting cards which I want to talk about briefly. Firstly, we've got Necromancy. This is basically another Lava, and I figure that card is so good that it's worth running Necromancy even if it's 7p. Just getting a third Lava is so powerful, even at that higher cost. And Dulla and Runewright. Now these are cards I've been experimenting with. I'm not 100% sold on them, but I do think they're quite fun, and they actually, in theory, are quite good. Even if you low roll the card that spawns from Desert Treasure, which is a random legendary unit from any faction, then these guys are pretty much always above 14 for 14, which is kind of a good amount of points, right? When you consider them together. So you do have to play them at the same time, which is a bit awkward. I think they're very good to throw away round 1 if you draw both of them, and that will just give you a round win for free, basically. Sometimes this card is just going to win you games because it high rolls, much the same as Bribery, but when it doesn't, it's also still pretty good, and it procs Thrive quite easily because it's a 6-point card, both of them. So I think overall, just really quite solid when you're going for this Thrive game plan with Larvae. Proccing them multiple times with Haunt, proccing them multiple times with the Desert Treasure that comes out from one of these units. I think you have the kind of workings of a really quite potent deck. The one issue being you lack removal. I think that's not a huge problem at the moment in the meta. Most decks tend to be focused around more vomiting out their own points rather than reacting to the opponents, or not worrying too much about engine value. So you don't tend to worry too much about lacking control. You do have the odd Adder, Striga or whatever, or Drowner if you need to shut down an engine in round 1 or whatever. But really this deck comes into its own on the bleed when you're pushing. Now I found that actually the way to usually play this is to go for a bleed with sort of your big units if you're able to, things like Osrail, Goliath, Egon, etc., rather than anything else. You can also play a Lava maybe in that round, and then you actually want to use your Haunt and sort of Caranthir combo as your actual finisher and your way to win. I think that's usually the way to win. That combo is very, very powerful, but they often can catch up to it, especially if they have tool removal to deal with your guys. So you can bleed with it, but it's also just game winning if you save it and on an even card state with about 5, 6, 7 cards. So that's kind of what you want to be doing. game plan wise. But overall, very consistent. Maybe not as consistent as some monster decks, because you are relying on kind of drawing these Caranthea, Detlaf, Haunt cards. You've got Matter and Royal Decree to help, but it can get a bit sketchy. Definitely Dulla and Runewright can, you know, mess you up a little bit if you don't draw them at the right time. But I think they're worth it overall. You might disagree and you can take them out for something like Caretaker if you want. Also, I have Bomb Heaver in this version, but you obviously don't need to play that if you don't want. I think it's probably good because a lot of the time, you know, you're playing against Syndicates with Passiflora, Squirtle with Feign Death and whatnot, and just it doesn't really cost you much to put it in this deck. Also counters Skellige if they happen to play like a naked Gideoneth, which they occasionally do. Anyway, let's jump into some games and see how the deck plays. Alright, looks like we're going to be up against Squirtle. Very popular these days. With the Mar Lagoons, we can get rid of Bruxa, don't want two of them. Anti-Thrive synergy going on a bit. We can probably get rid of Barghest as well. You want these guys later on to trigger your Detlaf. You don't need them early game, really. We have, you know, some pretty good stuff otherwise. So we can probably think about getting rid of Plumard. I'm not too happy about playing that this round anyway. So, going to be Lava to push here. I'm going to try to avoid playing Matter because we might need her to tutor the Detlaf, and if we play her, then she can get Royal Decree, and if we don't have Detlaf in hand, we can't use Caranthea on him. So let's start with the Lava though. And we'll think about doing an early E-Gun maybe after the Bruxa. Kind of sad that we don't have the Runewright and Dulla combo in round 1, because that'd be really nice to low commitment win round 1 with. But I'm sure it'll be okay. Opponent just going to start with a Dwarf Berserker. Let's play Bruxa to kind of counter that. And then we'll see where to go from there. Maybe Adder this round, maybe E-Gun. This could mean many things. It could mean he's playing Gord. It could mean he's playing Redea. If they're elves, they usually are playing Redea, so that's kind of sad that he snipes my my Lava, but it was quite likely to happen. Let's play E-Gun now then. Just a big body on the board. It's got 7 armor, so it's not too vulnerable right now to anything. Won't instantly die to 5 damage, etc. But he is going to go for poison. Okay. If we had a Barghest, we could think about eating our own guy, but we don't, so it's not on the cards, unfortunately. We can probably go ahead and Striga now. I would kind of like to wait maybe and kill a Dryad with it, but at the same time, I think we should just take the dominance and the value on it while we have it and thrive up. Probably next we'll play Goliath and then think about passing. Against elves we're definitely going to need to split up their kind of big combos, so you know, we'll think about where we need to go. I mean, we can also just try to smork and go round 3 straight away here, which I kind of don't mind because we've got lava value and we've got kind of the hand to do it. Plus we've seen a lot of poison from him already, and that morale makes it really hard to play on for me. I could just go with Matter. It's a bit risky because it might not find what we need it to find, but if it does find Royal Decree, we can commit Runewright and stuff this round. So I'm actually kind of liking that play. It's kind of good whichever unit we find. And he might use his poison, and then we can play Goliath, since it'll be a bit safer. You know, he might feel like he needs to get the value on that now, rather than just chilling out. And that's exactly what's going to happen. So, perfect. We can now play Goliath and keep fighting for the round, which I thought had probably been lost when you've got this much poison coming at a monster deck. Typically that's not a good thing to be happening, but he should be out of poison now, so that's quite good for us. Our big units are going to remain uninterfered with, for the most part. And now winning round 1 becomes very, very nice if we're able to do that. And I think we probably can. He needs 21 and 2, which is quite hard unless he wants to play big cards after all the poison's out. You can assume he's Redea, which also makes Bomb Heaver quite bad actually, which is funny. Definitely against these Squirtel decks, you can try to just go straight to round 3, and they'll be row limited out of the game a lot of the time. So we can take that as an approach, or we can bleed as an approach. Bleeding's maybe a bit risky, because they can gain the card, you know, with so much power just flowing out of their deck. Alright, let's get rid of Noonwraith. They're a bit risky to have, to be honest, right now, because you can probably kill them. So we'll get rid of both of those. So you need to draw Bomb Heaver, which is nice, but it's not really doing that much. You know, it can kill the scenario, but if we're playing for the brick the opponent's board win condition, which I think we do, then the Bomb Heaver's kind of bad. Let's just take the pass now. Immediate pass. Make life a bit difficult for them. They probably have Matter, so if they're going to Matter round 3 into Scenario, that's another card, another dead card for them. I played a game earlier where their board was so full they had 4 dead cards at the end, so typically with these elf decks you're going to be okay in the long round against them. Long round being 10 cards. So I think we'll get rid of Heaver, which is a bit counterintuitive, but maybe makes sense. We can also think about keeping it, but I think I just want to get rid of it here. Really we'd love to see some actual good cards. I think Noonwraith's not that good. Likewise with Drowner, but you know, Thrive units are alright. I don't really want the Noonwraith because it can die and just cause problems. Alright, the hand is not too bad. We'd love to get the Runewright combo off, but it's probably not going to happen. With that in mind, let's maybe just mulligan Plumard. Okay. Turns out mulliganing Runewright probably would have been good for us here. Occasionally you're going to low roll and not draw both of them. You do have Decree in the deck to kind of mitigate that a bit, but it's a bit sad when it happens, but it is what it is. You could definitely think about taking them out if you think they're a bit too gimmicky, a bit too memey, which they very well might be. Alright, so let's just start with the Larvae. Get those out. It's a bit sad we also don't have Necromancy. That would be another set of Larvae, which would be pretty nice in this long round, but it might be alright. He has Matter, so this probably means he's just going to be row locked in this game, to be quite honest, which is good for us. I might use the Drowner as a way to make his life a bit difficult. We'll see. We'll see. I kind of just want to thrive up, to be honest. But I definitely could think about playing the Drowner to, you know, lock out one of his rows. I don't think it's going to be relevant. Let's just do this and try to thrive as much as possible. I want to present a lot of threats as well. If he has to be dealing with a Drowner, he's then not dealing with a Lava, right? And vice versa. Okay. So Redair's on the board. We'll ping that. We don't want her to be too high strength for our dominance. Need that to be working. And soon we're going to go with the Caranthea into Detlaf. We've got to play around Bomb Heaver, I think, because it's reasonably common for them to be, you know, using that. All the points are going to come, and it's going to be a bit scary, but we'll be okay. We just need to keep thriving up. I'll play Plumard next, actually, just because of the thrive value. We're going to avoid killing units, because that will give him more board space to utilize. We really want to deny that if possible. And yeah, it looks a bit scary, but that's because he's played his power play, and a lot of my points are hidden in thriving units. Plus, a lot of my power is yet to come, so not the best hand. We did have a few bronzes, but I think in the end we'll be okay here. It just looks a bit daunting, as it often does against the elven horde. But the haunt value is going to be really insane, as you'll come to see, I'm sure. I can play around Heaver, which is always good. And these Redair decks do tend to run it, so gotta keep that in mind. Okie. So, Caranthea time, I think. We could also just thrive up, but I don't think it's worth it. I think we just want to start with the haunt shenanigans as soon as we can. Yeah, maybe thriving once more would have been worth it. You know? I can definitely see an argument for that. Could have played Rune right. We could have even thrived twice more actually. Maybe we should have done that, just because these are now a bit more vulnerable to dying. Maybe not. We'll see. So we make this play. This play, he might not kill my Caranthir, or rather my Detlaf, because he doesn't realise that's what I want to use my leader on right now. He might just think, oh, I thought this was a Kiki More Queen deck, and be quite confused by that. That tends to be what happens, I find. Because people think you're one thing, but you're another, and that can be quite valuable. Although obviously if this deck gets popular, then that won't be the case.
Upon which your kind dies.
So I wonder if this is going to be okay, Yavin. Interesting. Right, so I guess we can just go with that Haunt play. We could also just Rune Right. Since he's not showing any want of killing my Detlaf, I see him hovering over it, so... interesting. Yeah, we should go for the Haunt. It will proc. And it will mean Rune Right doesn't proc, but otherwise our Detlaf play doesn't proc anyway, so we don't lose out on any Thrive this way. And we have a lot of points coming now. An awful lot of points. Oh my goodness. He still has Isengrim though. He still has a lot himself. But he's going to be bricked out of either his leader charges or some of his cards here. It's not enough board space. So we'll see. It might be close. It might be close indeed, but right now it's looking okay. He can probably kill this Desert Banshee, which is not good for us. And then my 6/6 kind of bad plays are not also looking great. We might see a Venossil come down here. If he's using leader, then that's probably bad for him because he's playing effectively, 3-point cards or whatever. And also our Banshee survives, so that's great. Means we can eat up. I need to sneeze, sorry. Oh gosh, bless me. Okay, so now I think we can just play the other Detlaf because it will thrive the lava here. We're looking very, very okay in this game, I think. It seems a bit scary still, right? Because we're... Oh no, we're only about even on points right now, but we've still got these hidden points in the Detlaf waiting to come out. And of course he's run out of board space, so at least 2 of his cards here won't be playable, whether it's Oak or Isengrim or whatever. So that's kind of maybe a mistake on his part, wasting the leader charges, but I'm sure you'll see this game ends up not being very close at all. Just because we have so many points still, and the Elves really can't play long rounds. But there's definitely a line of play where we can maybe win by, by simply pushing a bit in the round 2, bleeding a bit, and splitting apart the Elf combos. But that's a bit more of a risky approach, I feel like. Just better to go round 3 like this and abuse their deck. So it ends up being a pretty easy win, as it often does if you go long round against Elves. Funnily enough, they actually have a bad long round. It's kind of a weird one. But a bit of an atypical game. Let's jump into another one and see how we do. Alright, and now we're going to be up against Wildcard. Should be quite a challenge for the deck, actually, because obviously it can just knock down one of our big units. We'll see if Bomb Heaver comes in handy. It might actually just end up being pretty useless here. We'll find out. But I have a nice hand in this situation. Definitely have a nice hand, and I can get rid of Ego in round 1, which means his Graydon won't be as good as it could otherwise be, later in the game. Let's get rid of Barghest like we did last game. And then Plumard. I'm going to go for kind of a bully on even approach if I can, with my Lava. We'll see if it works. Obviously the poison can find a hell of a lot of value. Okay, maybe we're not bullying actually. The Iron Mutated Hound is pretty tough. We'll definitely play one set of Lava though to set up the graveyard for Necromancy. Maybe we won't play the other, we'll save that for later. It's going to be hard to win against this, I think. Poison kind of shuts our deck down a little bit. At least in the early stages. But we have Bomb Heaver to protect us from Passiflora, so I'm kind of okay on that front. Let's bleed these street urchins, just in case that makes his life awkward. And we definitely want to get Egon out of hand, because it could be just objectively bad. To be honest, same story with the Beast. You don't want them to steal that with Philippa later in the game. That can be really terrible news. Actually looks like he's going to go for the Philippa now. So that means I'm kind of inclined to save the Beast. Hold on to it for later. Let's go with Egon now then. Get it out of the hand. It's possible that we can still win this round. We'll see. We'll see what we got to do that. To make that a reality. Ooh, looks like he's going to play morale. I think I'm just passing at this point, to be honest. It's very weird to be passing on 7 cards with monsters, but he played a lot of good stuff. The morale is obviously going to get the kill there, so he can just develop carryover if I play on here. And I don't want him to develop carryover in it of any kind. Albeit he can do it in this round too, but it's going to mean he lacks any pressure of any kind if he does. Alright, we do kind of want a few maybe weaker cards to play here. Plumard is one of them. I'm still going to mulligan it. Drowner's, solid enough. Maybe get rid of Dulla, because I don't want to commit him without his partner in crime. There we go, that's kind of perfect. Got Lava, Drowner, Plumard as our first 3 plays in this round. We might have an issue with getting Bomb Heaver value. I mean, number one, he might not even be running the Bomb Heaverable thing. He's probably going to push us quite hard here, right? Because we're we're Death Shadow. Which means he expects Kikimore Queen as the deck. Especially if we pass so early in round 1. That means we can maybe just commit our Lava in this round. We'll see. We'll see. But yeah, I think going double Lava here is probably a good idea. Our long round potential is quite strong with just Haunt value, to be honest. Let's just be safe and play another Lava. Now, arguably this isn't safe because I can't really very easily get ahead now if he passes. But I think he'll play on. Just because he fears the Kikimore Queen, right? And this is just now going quite nicely for us. We can play Drowner. Gonna put it in this row just to make it seem like I'm Kikimore Queen. We want to leave all the insects open on this row to make it seem like we're that deck. And he's gonna feel like he's forced to push in here. This is where you get the real kind of surprise value of the deck, which I really love. I really love it when you're getting surprise value. Let's play the Beast now. This is going to be the thing that catches us up. We played it a bit riskily here, but it's kind of a mind game and, abusing the fact of what our leader is in a funny way, in a weird way. It might seem a bit counterintuitive to do that. Alright, I think I'm actually going to play Matter now, because I really want to get another card that I can play. Right now I don't really have much that I can play other than this Plumard, and then my Matter becomes deactivated if he passes, which could become awkward. Yes, I miss out on Plumard Thrive value, so maybe that's not correct. That's definitely an argument to be had. He's actually going to bounty my Beast here, which isn't too bad for me. Might be going with Graydon in a second, but that should be okay, I think, all things considered. Interesting. We could think about throwing out the Haunt right now. It might get Bomb Heavered. I don't think it's super likely. I kind of like this as a play just because... Do I like it as a play? That's a question. It's going to be quite hard to activate both chapters. So actually, let's just Plumard for now and see what happens. Maybe actually Caranthering is correct. Yeah, I think we should Caranther. Maybe not. If he commits Graydon, he commits Graydon, right? And I'm quite happy if he does that. Quite happy indeed. It's actually going to be Mariel's. Okay. Okay. Getting quite interesting, isn't it? Getting quite interesting. I think now we probably play the Caranthir, Detlaf. Maybe he smells blood in the water because he thinks, oh wow, he used Caranthir on Detlaf. That means no Kikimore Queen this round. And, we can maybe just take a pass. We can hold on to our Detlef maybe to trigger Haunt here. It's going to be a bit of a weird one, but we'll find a way. We'll find a way to win it, I'm sure. Usually ends up being the case. He's definitely committed pretty much. I don't want to say all his power because Syndicate has a lot of power, but he's definitely committed a large amount of it. And at this point he's just not really respecting my points, so I'm going to be able to take a card off him, and he just spent all his carryover, so... This is where, I think this round just really showcases the surprise value being a big thing with this deck. I just don't really know how to play against this or what they're up against. And now we're going to happily take a card off of him. Very happily. Does mean we don't have a leader, but that should be fine because we have some really big cards, which also don't happen to be reliant on anything, any synergy really, other than I guess Detlef a little bit. Looks like Bomb Heaver's not going to be doing anything, so we'll play that if he plays another card, I think. Most likely doesn't have Passiflora. He still has Defender as well, so you can just use that to block the Bomb Heaver probably. But we'll see. Right now we're very far ahead, so he might be a bit not wanting to play more cards, especially if his hand is good. We'll see. I think he's probably a bit confused at this point, you know? Where's the Kikimore Queen? Why are you playing so many Detlefs and how are there so many points? I was 20 points up and now I'm 20 points down. Must be a very weird feeling, right? I do like our position in the game now. We can probably play around Graydon to quite a big extent. And we're a card up, so we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. We'd like to see the Rune Rake guys, I think. Those would be a nice little cheeky finisher at the end here. Gonna mulligan away Bomb Heaver. I think it's a bit too risky to hold on to. There's one of the boys. Okay, Ada's not bad. I think I'm gonna get rid of Plumard. Or Noonwraith. One of them is probably weak. Maybe it's Plumard, to be honest. We've got Barghest, which is perfectly fine. Perfectly decent card here. I'm actually going to play my Dulla here. He might be a bit scared of it and try to kill it in an awkward way. You know, maybe he just goes for the Graydon now or something. Might not be ideal for him. We don't have the best hand ever right now, but it should be good enough, I think, with the big Ozrael. And he's used so many power plays already to really bleed us. I'm trying to think what he can have left other than Graydon. It's probably not much. Wildcard doesn't have too many provisions, so he's most likely chilling on, you know, some 4P cards at this point, maybe poisons, etc. Which aren't going to do too much, thankfully. So yeah, here's the Graydon, and that means we have kind of a Barghest to chill out with, eat the Detlef with, and there's no answer to it anymore, so that's really good. He can poison, I guess, so we should probably save that for a later play if we can. Okay, I think Noonwraith is probably the play now. I don't really want to play my Adder, and I'd rather he poison the Noonwraith rather than Barghest here. There's also a line of play where we eat Noonwraith, but that's a bit out there. I don't know if we're going to do that. Okay, interesting. So his last two cards poison is a question we ought to ask, and if they are, how badly do we lose to that? I think it's most likely he has a Spender, and if he has a Spender he doesn't have poison, and if he doesn't have a Spender we win. So let's just play Barghest. Kind of no reason not to, I think. Then we can play Adder and finish with Ozrael or whatever. Should be winning, I think. It might be quite close though, because Wildcard is definitely a good leader to be equipped with when you're up against big chunky monsters. But I think we'll be alright. We'll see. We will see. So we can take the eat now. I guess we can also wait, doesn't matter too much. Now it's really just all of these points versus his 4 and Ozrael, so I think we always win this. He's really out of cards at this point. He's played every single gold in his deck, I think. Not gonna lie. I think he's played every single one at this point. And there's a tin boy.
I'm calm by nature, but we aren't in
Not really
nature.
doing too much. Alright, going to take the win quite nicely. So yeah, this deck definitely has points. It can be a bit tricky to play at times, and it can be a bit tricky to defend a bleed and to know exactly what you're doing with what. I would definitely suggest maybe taking out the rune right. Obviously we didn't get to see them in action this game. Those guys can be a bit unreliable. You really need to find both in hand at the same time. And when you don't, they're kind of bad. But when you do, they're quite good, unfortunately. Not gonna see them this time round, but yeah, consider Caretaker or something if you don't want to play them. Anyway, some good games. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye.